Welcome back to GaleForceWins Season 2.
The GaleForceWins podcast is proudly sponsored by Newfound Marketing, a digital marketing agency located in St. John's, Newfoundland. Visit our website at newfoundmarketing.ca to find out how we can help your business grow. Newfound Marketing, a complement to your marketing team.
Well, welcome to another great conversation on GaleForceWins, and I can tell you, there's nothing better than being in St. John's, and there's nothing better than overlooking St. John's Harbor and being in one of St. John's finest restaurants, the Fish Exchange. It's certainly going to be a pleasure to be in conversation with Justin. Justin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Alan. My name is Justin Garland, co-owner and general manager here at the St. John's Fish Exchange restaurant. We've been open since January 2016. I was born and raised here in the city, East End boy, as they say. And, growing up, I was always interested in businesses. First real interest was real estate, actually. So I used to go to the open houses with different real estate agents and hang out with them on the weekends and such. And then I started to get more and more interested in the restaurant side of things. My best friend's father had numerous restaurants throughout the city, and I sort of tagged along and had an interest in what his operations were like and what that side of the business was like. So, growing up after I finished high school, I went on to do business in school, and throughout that at MUN here, and then I went on to the College of North Atlantic and did the business sales and marketing program, which was fantastic. Very hands-on program, learned a lot there. So while I was doing that program, I actually worked at the Keg. Started busing, bartending, serving, getting a part of that operation.
Which is just down there.
Just down on the waterfront there, just behind us here at the restaurant today. And but my interest was always to get in the business side of things. Mm-hmm. So, Rob Moore, my business partner here, owned the Keg, and we've always said, we love to do a project together. And then this came about in 2015. We started talking about it. It was the right size. I was just finishing school a couple years prior. I did the management training program at the Keg, which was fantastic, very knowledgeable. They're celebrating 50 years in business, so it's a proven science. You learn a lot from operations like that that've been around the block. So the timing was right, and I came on board, and myself and Rob opened this restaurant on a snowstorm Monday evening in the middle of January 2016.
Just park that for 1 second, because I want to say something. I need to acknowledge Rob Moore. Mm-hmm. When I was here a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling you about this, so I was the president of MUN Entrepreneurial Society, and we invited various entrepreneurs to come. Mm-hmm. Rob was one of the very first people in 1992 that actually came to speak to Memorial, and he told me he was doing it because he had done well in the Churchill Square area, and it was, for me, as a young fella, it was really motivational, Justin. So
I would imagine.
And Rob is very well known in the restaurant business, so that's fantastic. Great partner.
It's been a good partnership. Take his experience and I guess my youth and work ethic. I guess I went full at it. Especially starting out with no family, no partner. You just want to go right into it. And I just had a passion for it, so it was a great learning experience. And I think he had fun trying something new with a different partner along the way. So we had so much fun opening this restaurant together. It's definitely a lot of learning. You can learn a lot from somebody that's been at it for longer than you've been live.
Justin, tell me about, were there a lot of entrepreneurs in your family? Where did this come from?
It was just something that has always, there hasn't been really many entrepreneurs in my family, but it's ever since I was young. It's funny, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, we lived next door to a real estate agent. So I always took interest in what others were doing. So, when I was involved in real estate, before I was 10, I'd go to his open houses every Saturday and Sunday and be a part of that.
10 years old.
Yes.
10 years old, you're going to open houses.
Open houses, as funny as that sounds, So
what would you do with them? Just kind of watch the interaction?
Watch them. I help them make little folders, little pamphlets to hand out. And that was a tradition for several years. I was actually able to follow a couple of real estate agents around for the day, and the Telegram and CBC did a little profile of me back then. That was in 1998. Okay. So then, meeting my best friend, who's still my best friend to this day, Zach, and his father's Rob. So then I started being interested in what he was about. So it was more so that whoever I was around that had that entrepreneurial spirit, I sort of wanted to learn from. And my friends be upstairs playing and hanging out, and I'd be downstairs talking to the fathers and saying, okay, you're involved in the restaurant industry, tell me more about that, or the real estate agent. And that was always my interest right from a young age.
Genuine curiosity for business, right?
Exactly.
So how was business school for you? Did you enjoy that process?
It was. I was at MUN, and then I transitioned over to the College of North Atlantic, and that was more of a fit for myself. I liked that smaller class size. It was more of a intimate environment, and we had the opportunity to have entrepreneurs come in and talk one-on-one, different business leaders, and I really gained a lot from that. I'm that kind of learner that I have to be involved. It's funny. I thought about going into law school at one point, but to me, that's a great stream, but I can't be in school for years and years. I need to be out in the environment. I need to be out talking to people, building relationships and such. So I really gained a lot from that program and the instructors that I had and my classmates as well.
Now, do you remember any of the people that came into the classroom stand out? Any of those entrepreneurs stand out?
Yes, we had gentleman Justin, who had Our Pleasure in the Comedy Club at the time. He came in. Pat Thompson was always, he's been in business for years at Diamond Design, so he was another gentleman that came in and talked to the class. So it's good to see different spectrums, businesses, whether it's comedy or, retail stores or, restaurants. It's, they're different sectors, but you need a common thread to succeed,
Yeah, business is business.
Business is a business, no matter what you're selling, no matter what service you're providing, you need the common traits to actually make it in the tough business world.
Yeah, and speaking of tough business world, restaurant business is tough business.
Oh yes, one of the toughest right now.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Exactly.
Tell me about all of that.
It's been a challenge to say the least. I'd say if you can get through, I always say to the staff or anybody I talk to about the pandemic, if you can get through this, you can get through anything. It makes you pay more attention to your business, look at that balance sheet, that income statement, and say, okay, what can we tighten up without affecting the day-to-day operations of the restaurant. It's definitely eye-opening. It's scary. It unleashes lots of emotions. Before March of 2020, we were fortunate that we had our winter trade was mostly business travelers. We were very fortunate with the business community. We have a great relationship with the hotel concierge. I scream that from the rooftops that if you have the hotels on board, that day-to-day partnerships, making sure the concierge have gift cards, you're talking to the hoteliers, that constant relationship will get you through the tough winter months in the city. As we know, it's tough to get around, especially in the downtown core, January, February, March month. But if you can have that business traveler, any bit of conference trade and such, it makes things a lot easier. So fast forward to March of 2020, we start losing that. Then we start using the local trade. We're down to takeout. We're like, whoa, this is not something that we're accustomed to. We're used to full houses. And a restaurant like this is built on experience.
Right.
You come in obviously for the food and drink, but it's also the lighting, the music, the staff, the environment as soon as you walk in the door is what we've always preached to the staff. So to have to go to the overused word of a pivot to takeout, it was more stressful than the usual day-to-day operation.
Right.
For myself, it definitely took a toll mentally and physically. You go from a staff of 65 to yourself. My mother was in working for free.
Wow.
My girlfriend was here. We had a couple of core staff, but at the end of the day, we wanted to make sure that we can pay the staff what was owing at that point because we closed right in the middle of a pay period. And you sort of
shut it down.
Shut it down. I always say to show how fast things changed. The Monday before, we had a buffet, and we were debating him and Han whether we should have it, but there was a St. Patrick's Day buffet, but there was still a big demand for it. We did all the cleanliness standards, we had the separate tongs, we had people wearing gloves changing it, and 3 days later we were completely shut down. To go from a buffet, serve yourself buffet, to completely shut down in 3 days, that just shows how it went from 0 to 100 so fast.
Yeah.
As soon as the cases started piling up, everything went so fast.
It's a stressful time.
Very stressful, before, especially that period before all the announcements started coming out from the federal government about wage subsidies or rent subsidies. You have that period of flux for 2 weeks where are we going to survive? What's going to happen? How are we going to make the rent bill? Is the landlord going to be supportive?
Right.
And of course, on their end, they don't know how long this is going to go on for, so they're having the same worrisome thoughts that we are. So, you go in survival mode. You obviously you cut back the staff. You do the takeout and see how fruitful that will be for business. And you just sort of take it one day at a time. But you got to make sure that you show the emotion that obviously you're caring and concerned, but for the staff, you have to be that tough wall that, okay, guys, at some point we will be open again. We will welcome you back. You sort of have to put your fears.
And deep down, though, you're not sure.
No, you're not sure. You have those thoughts. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen from week to week, but I need to make sure the staff are still there knowing that we're trying everything that we can. Whether it's cooking up the last bit of food that was left so we didn't waste it, sending out meals to the staff or, sending out bottles of wine or just visiting them. I had to keep them in the loop and just make sure that, hey, whatever you need, you let me know. Obviously, we don't have sales coming in, so it may not be monetary, but hey, if you need a ride somewhere, you know, obviously safely, we're here, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it together.
So you went right through the pandemic. You had your girlfriend working, your mom working.
Yes.
So you haven't had much of a rest by the sound of things.
No, and because it's interesting is, you know, as you get busier or you get back into it, people say, oh, well, you must have had a nice break for once, you know. I was like, no, it's actually, you go from busy to busy guest-wise and sales-wise, but it was nonstop throughout, because the less people you have working for you, the more work you have to pick up.
Sure.
You know, throughout the takeout periods to the 2 shutdowns, like I said, it was just myself and my family, so you're doing more work. It's actually more physically and mentally draining than a normal service. So, and then you gear back up into regular sales, and you still have to be there to make sure that the staff is back to where they should be, you know, where expectations are still there. So even though we've gone from ups and downs in terms of sales or being open, it's been a nonstop process right from the initial shutdown.
Wow.
So just, I mean, it's all well and good for somebody that's been in the food service business for 2 or 3 decades, but you're fairly new to it.
Yes.
Where did you dig on the strength to get through that?
You know, it's a support system from, like I said, you had your staff, it's suppliers. You know, I found that the biggest thing was knowing what you don't know and asking how to get there. Right. You know, whether it's other business owners, there's a great support system in the city. You know, somebody like Scott Hillier owns Coffee Matters, or you know, other restaurateurs in the city that we communicated to. You know, you use your support systems. Restaurants Canada, Hospitality Newfoundland, Destination St. John's, going to different business leaders and organizations, and just continues to ask questions, whether it's your accountant, whether it's somebody down the street, because at the end of the day,
you had a lot of questions.
You had a lot of questions, and you know, and you're so into it here, where you're just trying to keep afloat. You can't watch every news conference. You can't read every email as it comes out. Yeah. So I might have heard something that the person next door didn't hear. So it's asking questions back and forth and passing along information. And you know, I think it showed that the resiliency of the business owners, especially in the downtown core, but also showed the powerfulness in together. That even though you're, you know, competition per se, at the end of the day, you all need help to survive, and especially in the hospitality industry. So, you know, I think it was one positive through it all was the fact that people came together, business owners came together, community groups, tourist organizations, and said, hey, we're better as a banded team, you know?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
The way you describe it, it's beautiful to hear that everybody came together like that. But I also want to pick up on your ability to recognize it when you don't know, you ask.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And not everybody gets that out of the gate,
exactly.
right?
No,
Did you learn that in business school, or was that, maybe that stemmed from a young curiosity on business?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of it all, you know, going through those, you know, sales role plays in business school, or, you know, when we even opened the restaurant here, just to figure out, you know, a lot of it, you know, I had a lot of leeway with Rob saying, okay, go out and figure it out. So you learn that you need to ask different people, you know, and I think that's such an important tool to have in your tool belt, that, okay, I need to know where to look under. You got to look under every rock, you know, to find. Right now, it's looking under every rock to find staff, because that's such a big issue. But, you know, during the pandemic, it was, okay, how do I find resources? And, you know, so it was a combination of my experience from school and, you know, just being around these people throughout my whole life in different business sectors that really taught me a little bit. So, you know, you can really take a little bit from everyone along the way. And it sort of goes back to the KEG as well with their training program. You know, I was fortunate to get trained by Steve Fiddler, who was actually head of the whole KEG training all over Canada. So I learned a lot from him. So, you know, it's taking a little bit of knowledge from everybody and putting it together.
Justin, I can't help but ask about the restaurant itself. Was this a shell when you and Rob were talking about it?
It was a complete shell.
So these windows weren't there, or was that already designed?
The windows were designed, so that was a big selling point to get the space, of course, the view, you know. And there was a few different people interested in the space, a couple of corporate operations and a couple of other restaurants. But, you know, when we talked to the landlord about the concept, of wanted to be a local, you know, seafood-oriented restaurant. And, you know, one of the most surprising things in developing the concept is, you know, a lot of people who come to St. John's assume that there's, you know, tens of seafood restaurants, but there's not.
I know.
You know, and it's been a supply issue for many years, especially during the winter months. So we were able to, you know, lock in some great suppliers that helped us out and such. And, you know, when we came into the space, it was a, you know, vanilla box, as they say, just the concrete floors, obviously the beautiful windows, but...
was this loft here? No.
No, that wasn't even here. So, you know, it was working, and Rob has a great eye for design, and then we had another consultant that was really well, but it was fun putting it together. There was looking online, there was things that I went to the antique store and saw that I was like, oh, that'd be great in the restaurant, and different pieces we even recycled from other restaurants that we had in the past. So that was a great rewarding experience, going out and getting something at an antique shop or repurposing and putting it all together, and it was really, it puts it all in perspective being here as we're getting ready to open. When you're by yourself in the nighttime, you're just looking out, you're the only one in this restaurant, and you're trying to picture what it could be, and when it actually comes to fruition, it's, there's nothing else.
Well, you've built something special here. I mean, the food is excellent. The location, Alan, is just spectacular. I said to him when we were talking about this, I want an upstairs table. This is probably the most requested table here.
Yes, it is. Yeah, everybody loves the view for sure. So we try our best to accommodate for all our guests.
Well, there's a lot of good ones down there too.
Exactly. We're fortunate with the wall of windows that it's there's lots of great views, and even when I dine, like I even like sitting in the bar area. It's all, and that's one of the things that we wanted to do when we put the restaurant together was have different view planes. If you don't get a view, maybe it's the bar, it's the action of the bartenders making the feature cocktails, or it's the window in the kitchen. That's why we put the window in the kitchen, so you can have a view into the chefs as they put together the feature scallops or halibut. So whether you don't get a view in the window, there's lots of other things that could catch your eye along, and that goes to experiencing dining. And that's one of the things that has definitely been the shift. That obviously guests are looking for the meal, the food, but it's the sights, it's the noise, it's the action that's really come about.
Tell me what, it must have been a journey to go from, a conception to the actual restaurant existing as it is today. And as Jerry so rightly points out, it is spectacular.
No, thank you so much.
And
I appreciate that.
The food is spectacular as well.
We got great chefs on board.
Yeah, 100%. What was it like on opening night? Tell me how you felt.
Yeah, there's a few jitters to say the least. At that point I was 25, turning 26. So I was, the first real restaurant opening. I helped facilitate the new keg when we transitioned into the bigger building. But of course, with a keg or any chain restaurant, you have an opening team. There's so many corporate bodies there, but this was the first organic one, and that there's probably something you forgot along the way. But you look to your team to sort of help out, and then that was another part of it, was bringing in people that worked for us in the past. A lot of people that worked at restaurants that we were involved in. So if there was something I missed along the way, they were there to help cover it up and run and put out a couple of fires along the way.
Did you fill up the first night?
It was a snowstorm. It was a Monday snowstorm.
That's right, you were
so
saying,
we were steady. It wasn't a complete full
That's probably
house.
A blessing,
It was. I tell you, opening in January was a blessing for us because we saw, okay, we're steady, we're pretty steady, we're very steady, now we're busy. So by the time we got to the summer, we were ready to rock and roll. Part of that was our executive chef, Maurizio Modica. He was been around the block as well, and the team that we had in the kitchen to open was a seasoned veteran crew and then youth on the back end to bring in the fresh ideas and such. And we were just so fortunate to have that team. And like I said, and that's a blessing, and a lot of restaurants, it always runs late when you're opening. You get delayed by a few months, and we were delayed. We were supposed to open before, but at the end of the day, I think that's one of the best things that we opened in January. We got our bearings, and then we were ready to roll for the summer season.
Now, it's in a restaurant business, of course, you need a great team around you, good quality chefs that can really creative and produce. But it also, there's a lot goes into the ingredients. You're surrounded, with an abundance of seafood. Tell me about the ingredients. Where are these coming from?
Yes, they come from all over the province. We have halibut and CBS scallops or mussels. Or now, one of the great things that came about of late is the oysters, Newfoundland oysters coming in the equation. So that's one of the most exciting things, especially this. We've been open 6.5 years there now, so a lot of it's not the routine things, but the fact that you're going out and talking to these suppliers and getting lobsters and the cod. You like to learn the history of it, and we got great suppliers. Angus, for instance, M&A Fisheries. He's been around the block 40 years, and he comes in with these fresh halibuts, and it's amazing to come in and see the full fish being delivered, sometimes 80-90 pound halibut, and the excitement that our chefs still have to fillet that, and then it's the fun part of creating the dish, because we have a halibut every night on the menu. but it's different. You know, you come in and one night it could be Asian influenced, it could be the most Newfoundland dish you've ever seen, and next minute it could be Moroccan influenced. You know, we have 4 chefs from Morocco actually.
Is that right?
Really?
Yeah, so or we have chefs from Colombia, India, Africa. So that's one of the things that, you know, we like to put our twist on, because obviously, you know, the tourists are coming in for that fresh local product. The Newfoundlanders are, you know, they're familiar with the product, but so we like to set ourselves apart from other restaurants and concepts by bringing in the expertise and the recipes from the chefs from all over the world. And it makes things interesting from somebody like me who eats here every day.
Yeah.
There's always something new and exciting.
Do you eat here every day?
I eat here every day.
Lucky guy.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you are
know.
a lucky guy. Tell me this now. What would your favorite meal be here? It's a tough question.
It is a tough question. There's so many great dishes. You know, I keep going back to the halibut.
Do you?
That's the kingfish, that beautiful white fish. And like I said, you can do so much with it.
Yeah.
You know, we had with a carrot puree and snap peas the other evening, and then, you know, blueberries and goat cheese the other. So and then there was a great noodle dish, Asian noodles in a broth.
So do you know your way around the kitchen?
Oh no, I wouldn't dare ruin the concept with that. No, but that's one of the exciting things for me, is that I've been able to learn over the past couple of years and learn from my environment and the people around me, you know, and that's what I always tell the management team. Like everybody has a place. There's people with more HR experience. There's people with more financial experience. If everybody was the same, things would get boring. And that's the same way with the kitchen. I'm fortunate that they're in there teaching me. And I jump behind the line. I did on the deep fryer last year for a little bit. And geez, I don't know how they do it. I'm lucky that we got the team that we do, because I wouldn't last in there every night.
You've been there, haven't you?
I have been in there. I've worked in the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
It's a busy.
I give it up to anybody who can stand in there 12, 14 hours on those busy summer nights, and it takes a great work ethic, and you know.
It's a busy place back there, and things can go wrong quick.
Very fast. Things go off the rails very fast.
Yeah. Now, I live in Prince Edward Island.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
So,
Beautiful.
But I've had the pleasure to dine here a dozen times.
Yeah.
And every time I've come here, well, the view speaks for itself, obviously. The food was always incredible. Obviously, I keep coming back. But the service was second to none. I mean, it's fantastic here. Tell me a little bit about your team. Tell me about what these people mean to you.
Oh, they mean the world to me, especially during the pandemic. They were so supportive along the way, checking up with me, making sure I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I was saying, I was checking in to make sure they're okay. They're messaging me, they're phoning me. You know, this past year has been, you know, difficult, of course, with COVID, but I also lost my grandfather, who basically raised me this past year, and I came down with COVID as well. The staff were dropping off meals to my house. They were dropping off gifts. They were checking up with me.
Did you get it before all the vaccines and that came out? Or
no, I got it during Christmas time, actually.
Yeah. When most people in St. John's
When most people got in St. John's, and you know, they even made a feature cocktail in honor of my grandfather, and helped organize a fundraiser with the Salvation Army in his name. That was always a big cause that he supported, the Happy Tree.
Okay.
So they came together, organized a fundraiser, and we were able to donate several $1,000s worth of toys and monetary funds to the Salvation Army, and that's something that they champion. So having the staff that we do has been second to none to get through these difficult times. It's a good combination of staff that's, you know, organically were hired here as a host or a bar back, as we call it, a bar helper, or busting, cleaning tables, and then they moved up through. And that's something I learned from, you know, my previous experience in corporate restaurants, to know that the importance of having that way to move up through the company, that motivation, you know?
Right.
And then we had servers that have been around for 15, 20 years at different restaurants who came on board. So to have that veteran leadership presence, to have that organic from within server and bartender, it's been a great combination. And you know, during COVID actually was the first time in 2.5 years we hired a server or bartender, just to show you how loyal our staff is, and how you know, the turnover, which is, you know, notorious in this industry, has been quite low for this setting.
But it's a real skill, to be a server in a restaurant.
It is.
To get it right and
Oh, my
to
goodness.
deal with the challenges
Yeah.
of the evening as it unfolds. It's a real skill set.
It is. It's something that you know, people take for granted. You know, there's people that we've hired, you know, say in management and or in other roles, who never stepped foot in the restaurant working before. They just dine. They said, "Oh, that must be easy. It's just people, you know, part-time jobs." And then they said, "Wow, this is madness." What you have to remember, the product knowledge, you know, our servers have to remember, you know, a big wine and cocktail list, the food. We have different features every evening, so it's not like you're learning the same thing and then it's done. and you have to talk and not only upsell, but sizzle, or you have to create a relationship with the guests. And that's one thing that has really set our serving team and bartending team apart. Come sit at our bar, it's not just to have a beer, it's to have a full dining experience. And they're telling the history about the drinks. We have a sprung greenhouse about, of course, the sprung greenhouse that was in Mount Pearl.
Tell me about that drink.
Does it have lights in it?
They have lights and a big bright cocktail. So the sprung greenhouse was in Mount Pearl. The provincial government sank millions and millions of dollars into a cucumber farm. So we made our take on that sprung greenhouse. It's a gin-based drink with a cucumber topper, one of my favorites. So, our cocktails are all based on
a little bit of Newfoundland.
A little bit of Newfoundlandia, and that's something that our bartenders and servers share with our guests in the door.
Yeah.
But you know what? Your bar is fun. And I think there's personality.
It is.
Not only with the people, but the whole structure.
The environment.
Right?
You can watch them make their cocktails, and you can look to the left and look in the kitchen and see. So I love sitting at the bar. That's where the most excitement for me comes from, and seeing the creativity. And we have drinks. The 1892, which is based on the Great Fire of 1892. So it's a flaming cocktail. So seeing that being lit up, and all those little things that are the great novelties and such cornerstones of our restaurant. It's just fun to be a part of.
Well, I think I've eaten here a lot. We've had many. I've had my birthday here many times. The one thing, Justin, that I think, Alan, consistency.
Oh,
like whatever it is you've got in the training process or whatever, the management team, it's consistent. And it's such a pleasurable experience.
No, thank you. No, the consistency in our industry, that's the magic word.
Right.
If you don't have consistency, you just don't have it.
Right.
It's the same meal. We have guests, which is so great to have back in the mix, who join us from Halifax or PEI or New Brunswick or even Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. And when they come in for lobster and shrimp pappardelle, it should be the same when they came last year as this year.
Right.
That fresh lobster, that buttery, creamy sauce, that fresh noodle. And that has to be consistent. The level of service has to be consistent. That's one thing that I beat home with the staff, that's what will keep you relevant. That's what will keep the guests coming back. And we have so many loyal guests, and that's been one of the keys to success. And it all starts with the team on the floor and in the kitchen.
It's not an 8-to-4 job owning a restaurant.
No, it's as soon as I wake up, first thing I do, check the bank account, make sure all the deposits are in, make sure what's the cash flow is going to be like for the rest of the day, and that can set the tone for your morning.
So in COVID, you probably did that 5 times.
Oh my goodness, exactly. Didn't even sleep, and you're getting up, and it's the amount of preparation that goes into service. You're going to Costco, you're working with suppliers, and especially now with the price of everything increasing, you have to work ever so closely with your suppliers. You have to go to your Costco's of the world, your AGDs, and see, okay, is it worth going and driving there for a half hour, but am I going to save $20 on this item? Am I going to save $5,000 a month if I go take this much business to Costco? So it's all a daily pursuit. That's what sets this industry apart from working your office job where you might work on a project for 6 months and start something new. Like I tell the managers, every day it's the same thing. You start with a blank slate. You need to make sure your food cost is there. You need to make sure everything's portioned properly. The quality ingredients are there. You have staff scheduled, but then you have to say, is it too much? Do we need to change the start times? When do we send them home for the night? We have, is it slower than we thought? Is it busier? Every day is starting from scratch pretty well in that respect. So it's
As I listen to you talk, it's reinforced. I will never be part of a restaurant.
Oh my goodness!
It's a big job you got, and you're doing it as a young man.
Oh, thank you. It's a lot of work, and it's been, like I said, it's been time consuming. It's been draining. And so I think that the family support just for getting through these last couple of years, because it really puts everything into perspective. And that's why I always laugh when you see a lot of celebrities, especially, say, I'll open a restaurant for something to do there now. Like, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
I always say, if you want to lose money quick, open a restaurant.
That's right. Now, it's interesting, right? You come off the tail end of a very significant, challenging time in our country in many, many industries, but few were hit as hard as the service industry, for sure. And now here we are in another crisis with this inflation and again, hitting service industry again, but you're smiling, you're rolling through it, eh?
Yeah, you got to put on that, it's not a front, because you're still happy to be doing what you're doing, but you got to take things seriously, and it's not easy, and it's deflating when you go to the store and things have gone up $10 a carton, or canola oil's been the funny one that everybody puts online. It was $17.99 before COVID, $45 a tub now.
Okay.
But
ribs have gone
my
crazy.
goodness.
I was saying to Alan the other day, I'm like, no, skip those for now.
No, I know, it's crazy, and it's, there's no end in sight, so, it is deflating at times, but you have to get more creative, you say, okay, what can we make in-house? We made the transition to make all our desserts pretty well in-house over the past couple of weeks, to save some funds, but also it increases the creativity. So you sort of got to make sure that you spin it, for lack of a better term, that maybe we're making some changes, but it brings some more opportunity for our chefs, especially those that we brought over from different countries that have a baking background, that we can pick their expertise and they feel more a part of the solution moving forward. So, as many negatives as there are out there, you have to say, okay, what can we do to make this an opportunity? It's all about those opportunities. Whether it's me as somebody who's paying the bills, or it's the staff member that's coming on board that now they feel empowered because they're the baker,
That's what we call turning lemons into lemonade.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah, you got to.
Culinary term there for you.
You got
Jared.
to when you can, for sure.
Yeah.
Otherwise you just be some dark days. But gearing into the summer season and seeing the amount of calls and requests that are coming in for business meetings and conferences that are coming back to the city. They view this city as a nice spot to hold their business conference. Throughout the whole pandemic, I know it's been rough, but we had low numbers compared to most destinations in Canada. So businesses are looking at that as an opportunity that you can be downtown and world-class accommodations, a restaurant like this, or merchant, or you could be at a nice hotel, but within 10 minutes you could be in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So I think that's an opportunity as a province that we really can sell outside tourism and outside business conference market.
Well, there's few places like this in the world. There really is.
Oh, 100% out.
There's few places like this in the world. What's over the horizon for you guys? What's it look like?
It's it's nice to finally go into summer at 100% capacity.
Yeah.
Looking forward to full houses. Having a patio set up and people come in to enjoy our fresh local seafood. So for us right now, it's normalcy. Is the key word. We're looking to get back to where we were before COVID in terms of the numbers that we're putting through the door, but also an opportunity to work and grow our business side of things, working with conferences. Doing more hors d'oeuvre menus and dealing with things such as weddings or small business conferences or workshops. So that's a growing part of our business. So that's where we're seeing a big push right now as businesses and organizations start to plan. Maybe it's not the 300-400 person conference, but it's a 150 person, and they feel safe and accommodating in our environment, and working with our other partners, maybe the boat tour behind us that we have a great relationship with, and packaging, experiences for our guests.
Share your thoughts.
Well, Justin, I was thinking about you as you're talking there, and you said you were 25 when you started, 25, 26. I was still in university.
Okay, yeah.
And my Lord, man, you've gotten some experience for a guy in his early 30s, I'm calculating.
Yes, right? 32 now.
It's amazing. What would you say to a young person about being in business? How would you summarize the experience and some of the things maybe they should do?
It's been rewarding. There's been some knocks along the way. There was other businesses that I was involved in that weren't as successful. You took some knocks in, but and that's one of the things about being young, that you can sort of take a bit of a chance. You can sort of lick your wounds and get up and know, okay, I got a lot of years ahead of me. And it's knowing that, you sort of need to get these little bumps in the road to really appreciate what you have. It made me really re-appreciate what I have here at the Fish Exchange. And knowing that, in terms of, it's not sacrificing your pride to not know something. And to not be afraid to ask questions and go to people for assistance. Because at the end of the day, there's many people with experience that love to share it, who've been through worse than what you're going through, that are say, hey, I've been through this is how I got through it. So, it really puts everything into perspective. And, there's no shame in surrounding yourself. I see that with a lot of different concepts, that people surround themselves with people that they feel comfortable with, maybe on the same knowledge level or experience level. Well, that's been one of the great things that I've learned from here, having our chef when we first opened Maurizio has been around the block, and it doesn't have to be people that are your best friends, but it's that mutual respect that you learned, and folks in from other sectors. I'm not ashamed to say, I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I like to talk to the smarter people and learn from them.
You're hardworking, though, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm not afraid of work, but I'm not afraid to know when I'm wrong and to ask for help. And that's really the advice that I would give,
Yeah, surround yourself with smart people.
Yes, exactly.
And then listen to them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And listening is very, very important along the way.
Well, I'm 56 and I've got 1/10 of the knowledge.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm sure I can learn a lot from you, and that's the beauty of it all, having conversations like this with people from different experiences, different sectors, and it doesn't have to be somebody in my sector. Obviously, you've done different businesses and you've been involved in different things, and the people that you could talk to next could be a whole different kettle of fish. But that's the great thing about having conversations like this.
There's
you learn
pride
from
in
everywhere.
creating something, and you and Rob have created something special here, and for that, we commend you.
No, thank you so much.
For you.
I appreciate that, gentlemen. I really do.
Well, another wonderful conversation on GaleForceWins, and I have to tell you, if you are from St. John's or Newfoundland indeed, and you've not been to the Fish Exchange, you should really get here as soon as you can, because it is quite a spectacular place. And if you're from away and you're coming to this beautiful place, I'd put this on the agenda to get here, because it doesn't get much better than the view, the food, and the people that are working here. This is a real treasure. I can tell you this, the world needs more places like the Fish Exchange, and the world needs more Justin Garland. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to GaleForceWins. That's GaleForceWins, WINS.com.